see that? The other guy says, he was looking at the maps. He said, I didn't see it. What are you talking about? And what this guy saw was he said it was as big as a hangar door and appeared to be rotating, and it's coming right at him at such a speed that by the time he said, did you see it, it's gone. So he tells the guy, look, you'll see see if there's another one. And sure enough, another one comes around, but he's just not looking in the right place, so he doesn't see it. The pilot says, do you see that? Co-pilot says, you must be crazy. And then he sees one. And they say, okay, we're going to turn the plane around and chase one. So they turn the plane around. By the time they get the plane turned around, it's gone. These things are coming at him so fast. And he says it feels like these things are on collision course. They're heading right for him and just fly over him. They saw about 9 in all. And that only got into the local press. So from 1947, I've got about 35 cases of pilots, airline pilots, military pilots, private pilots. So 1947 is quite a haul of UFO cases, not only in the United States but overseas. These pilots for British Overseas Air flying to Argentina, they see one in the Bay of Biscayne. So they're being reported everywhere. Another important guy at this time is the head of intelligence in 4th Air Force. He becomes like the main investigator because most of the stuff is happening in the West. So not only does he investigate his own cases in the 4th Air Force area, but he's writing to people from other air forces and asking them, have you investigated this case or that case? And so he's getting information from other air forces that are writing to him.
Is that Robert Billick?
No, this is Colonel Springer.
I'm looking at your notes
Arnold
here.
Arnold's saying he thinks this guy is his friend. He gives Arnold some kind of letter where it says he can investigate cases.
Oh.
That's...
Is that like a legal document he can use to go into the Pentagon
or something? No, just a letter saying, please, if this man asks you questions, the Air Force is interested in your answers. So,
very interesting. Okay.
Right. So the summer goes on. In September, a lot of things start happening. This Alfred Loading, who's
Springer, was it LTC Spring?
Yes.
4th Air Force. Okay, so you're covering that, and then okay.
In August, there's supposedly a sighting at a place called Murray Island, where the UFO appears damaged, and it's like things are falling off it. So Springer says, I have to send people up there. So he sent 2 of his counterintelligence officers up there. And Arnold and Smith get involved in that case. So the counterintelligence officers come there and they say, these guys are hoaxers. They're trying to give us slag and saying it came from this UFO. However, on flying back from to California, their plane catches fire and these two intelligence agents die in the crash. Colonel Springer is really angry about this because it's in the press. They're, saying, well, so maybe something is not right here. And so this is one of the first UFO conspiracies. So Springer gets kind of angry about this, and he says, well, we're not investigating UFOs anymore. It's just slag there. I've got the documents and the things that they picked up, and it's nothing. And we're not investigating UFOs at all. Of course, he doesn't speak for the whole Air Force. He just speaks for his own place. And so this gets on the press wires, and all around the world it says the United States Air Force is no longer investigating UFOs, or they call them flying discs at the time. It says the United States Air Force is no longer investigating UFOs. This is August. I guess we need to go back to Roswell. Roswell's important. I need to say this about Roswell. When the Roswell incident happened, the base commander said that we've captured a flying disc. At the time, flying discs meant anything. I mean, it meant a lot of UFOs were square, and the newspapers called them flying discs, even though they were square or rectangular or whatever. When they showed what supposedly was the Roswell flying disc at 8th Air Force, that was the end of nationwide coverage of UFOs, except for Colonel Springer's telling the press that we aren't investigating UFOs anymore. Colonel Springer had to write a letter of apology out to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for telling the whole world that we're not, the Air Force is out of the investigation business. That's not what he meant to say, but that's what the press took him to say. And even in India, you find that's what it says. So he wrote the letter of apology, and the press had slowly forgotten about UFOs anyways by this time. Almost the only things that are coming out in the press are either humor items or from overseas in the wire services. Locally, some UFOs are being reported in August. Don Johnson talks to two United Airline pilots, and this is an amazing one. If it had made it to Wright-Patterson, it probably would have helped them earlier have something more substantial to say about UFOs. These two United Airline pilots saw these discs coming under their plane, and they had stopwatches, and they looked on the ground and found reference points, and they timed the UFOs going between these two reference points and figured out these things are going at 900 miles an hour. But for some reason, this local newspaper article never made it to right field. So it's unfortunate. In September, Alfred Loading is one of the main guys in the UFO project. They have no name for it yet or anything like that. And he's going to go to the Pentagon and talk to Dr. Carroll there, who has been probably the main investigator in the Pentagon. Carroll goes on leave, so loading gets delayed. In the meantime, General Schuligan sends Colonel Twining a list of UFO cases that Colonel Garnett has been keeping. Now there's a substantial amount of these. We don't have his letter, but we have the enclosure, which is flying discs over the U.S., and it's got about 30 cases in there. And so McCoy is now the T2 guy there. Brett Nell no longer runs the UFO project. It's now McCoy. So McCoy, he has to call a meeting of some of the best experts at Wright Field, and they decide that UFOs need to be investigated. They need to report to different agencies of the government about what they find. You need to request these other agencies help them. And they need to get the boss's signature on this letter. So McCoy writes up a letter, which ufology calls the Twining letter. But McCoy wrote it. And Twining signs it. Now, in the military, you don't just, out of the blue, let me just write a letter. No, he's answering Schuligan, who has sent him this material from the Pentagon. Says, "Look at this. Tell me what you think." We don't have that letter, but that's what Schuligan's letter probably said. So McCoy writes this letter for General Twining. He gets it approved, and Twining signs it, and that becomes a Twining letter, or the Twining memo in ufology. But it's actually what it is. It's a corporate opinion of AMC, General Put, McCoy, a half a dozen other engineers and high-ranking officers at AMC. It's their opinion of UFOs. It's not Twining's opinion. It's Air Materiel's opinion of UFOs. Dr. Carroll comes back off of leave, and Loading goes down and sees him. They agree that everything should be done at the Pentagon. Or, excuse me, at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The Pentagon should be, if they do anything, it's secondary. And
so did we have joint? We had joint chiefs of staff back then.
Yeah, sure they did.
Okay.
Right, but this is within the Air Force. No, it's 1st of September, so the Air Force becomes independent. So Carroll tells Loading that, we've had 3 radar cases in Japan. You can't find those in the Project Blue Book files. He tells Loading that, hey, we've had these 3 Air Force cases radar cases in Japan. So Loading goes back and talks to McCoy. Now, McCoy's only a colonel, but his position is Deputy Commanding General AMC Intelligence. And he sees Twining every day, and Twining's a 3-star general. And the guy that runs Air Force Intelligence down there is a 2-star general. So you don't mess with